All right, honestly, I think that's enough of the hype train. Let's be real for like just 2 seconds. I feel like Instagram has turned into a place where we only show our highlights and not the moments where we messed up. And guys, I messed up and I didn't share it anywhere. Only a few people even know this even happened. And today's gonna be a bit of a long overdue story time. This story actually begins 4 years ago in 2018 when I sold my E46 330 wagon. The reason why I sold that car was to fund a project that I've always dreamt of, building a Russian arm.
That was a little bit more painful than I thought it was gonna be. Put a lot into that car. I don't know what to say. I do hope that it is all worth it in the end and that I'll be able to do better things, bigger things, cooler things.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a robotic camera arm that gets mounted to a vehicle for car-to-car action shots in high production sets. After a couple years studying electromechanical engineering, I realized that this is actually something that I could design and build myself. So I went out and I did just that. Over the next 2 years, I designed and fabricated this monstrosity in my parents' basement. It was an intense learning process and took up a lot of my time and resources. Designing, fabricating, 3D printing, welding, programming, I dove into all of it head first and surprised myself with what I could do. And after 2 years of inconsistent motivation and a lot of hard work, I finally had it mounted to the car and moving on its own power. To me, that was the biggest achievement I've ever done in my life because literally I just completed something that I didn't even think was possible. But I did it. Okay, sidebar here. I think that whole process unlocked something in my brain that let me know that there's literally nothing I can't do if I don't try hard enough. And that goes for you too. Do hard things. It makes you a better person. Back to the story. As I started refining some of my designs, refining my processes, replacing certain parts, doubling up on my motors. I moved from using a USB joystick to my own custom built controller that was Arduino based with nice joysticks and buttons and a screen. Honestly, things were starting to come together. There's just one more piece that I needed to get to complete this expensive project of mine, but we're not there yet. Building something like this was all fine and dandy in my parents' basement, but when it came to the actual use, maintenance, mounting, and storage of this massive piece of equipment, I didn't think it all through. I very quickly realized that I need a garage or a shop for something like this. So I went and I built, not a shop, a shed. Here's where things start to go downhill. Bro, I didn't realize how expensive lumber is. Oh my gosh. Anyways, I was working a pretty crap job at the time, and I remember spending way too much money on lumber just so I could build this shed to store and mount this crane. And so I did it. I built this shed, and if you can imagine, I was putting it on my X5, so it needed to be extremely tall. I think it was just over 12 feet tall, not including the roof. I bought an electric lift that could pick it up off my car and then mount it back on within like 5 minutes. I had like a quick release system going. I had LED lights in the top of the shed, LED lights on the back of the crane. Things were starting to look like I was reaching the end. And then one fateful day in Caledon, we had a massive storm. And this storm violated the out of my crane. The joke is, I didn't even know until I was leaving the next day, and I was looking over and it was like, at this point I was thousands of dollars into this and there were still thousands more to spend. The storm was the needle that broke the camel's back. The wind gusts were so strong in that storm it completely blew over my shed with the crane inside of it. Parts that I had taken weeks to fabricate were now bent and mangled. At this point I remember looking at the mess, sighing, and just walking away. So the crane sat like that for a while before I even wanted to get into it. Once I sorted through the carnage, I decided I was going to scrap most of it and keep some of the most expensive parts like my electronics, the aluminum boom arm, the motors, the actuators, all the stuff that really emptied my pockets I kept. But the base, the core, and that weak shed that I built, they're all gone. So why am I sharing this with you? I think a lot of times we think that our mistakes and our failures hold us back, but that's a personal choice. What they should really do is propel you forward. Making a mistake and admitting it doesn't mean that you're a loser. It just means that you're brave. And just like I was when I set out to even build that thing in the first place, I'm gonna try and do the hard things and admit my mistakes and share my failures. This video's been a long time coming and I really didn't want to or know how to do this, but I saw a post by one of my good friends the other day and it really talked about this facade that we call Instagram. I had to step back and really be honest with myself so I can be honest with you guys. So is that the end of this dream for me? Absolutely not. the goal remains the same from the beginning, which was to free myself from any limitations that I might experience while shooting cars do what they do, which is drive. It's drive. What does that look like in the future? You're just gonna have to stick around and find out. And if there's only one thing that you take away from this video, I want you to understand that failure is not the end. Making mistakes doesn't define your character. It's your response to those mistakes that does. So go, get up, and be great. Peace.